what we're looking at there is the end of what was a brand new keel winch cable, installed only a few weeks before we went away up to Moreton Bay. Now, I suppose the lucky thing is that it failed in the last 10 minutes of the trip, not the first 10 minutes of the trip. So I suppose the question is, why did that fail? It'd be easy to blame it on the cable itself, and that may be the problem, but either way, I know that I made a couple of errors, and personally I think that's the cause of my failure. So looking at the other end of the cable there, it's got a lot of snags on it. I should never be using my bare hands, and I think it's been untwisting right at that point there, because when I installed it, at the time I didn't think much of it, but I left about a quarter of a turn of twist in the cable. I thought that shouldn't cause any issues. I think it did cause an issue. I think that it was just creating a weak point, untwisting all of those strands of wire. And then our first couple of nights on Peel Island, the tide was out at night, so we let the boat dry out. That's all good, but there was a banging noise, and it wasn't loud. It was just, you know, a small sort of banging just as the boat was sort of coming to rest as the tide went all the way out. And I was looking around trying to work out what was making this banging noise. I couldn't find it, so yeah, couldn't do anything about it. Well, I realised a couple of days later that the keel cable was down, you know, maybe an inch, and I don't know why. It, you know, felt like it was all the way up, but for whatever reason it wasn't all the way up. And so what I think was happening is where that cable was untwisting, it was just banging, you know, and stressing that point again and again and again. And so I think that in that first couple of days of the trip, that really weakened the cable, and it was just destined for failure all that time. Now, if I'd realised, if I paid more attention to it, which I didn't, because, well, it was a brand new cable, in hindsight I should have been checking it every day and just making sure it was still in good condition, but I didn't, and now I'm paying the price for it. So there's my tip: make sure you check your keel cable pretty much on a daily basis. If you're going to be in the boat winding the keel up and down, just check it. It only takes a second to do. If I'd been checking it and I noticed it while we were up at Bribey Island, I had a spare with me, so I could have pulled this one off, put the old one back on, and avoid the whole problem. Unfortunately I didn't, and here we are. I've learned how to repair fiberglass now, which is, you know, it's a good skill to have, but I wish that I hadn't had to do the repair at all. So we're doing away with the steel cable in favour of Dyneema. I'm going to have to drill out this hole here bigger to fit the Dyneema through. One of the reasons why I didn't go to Dyneema originally when I was changing the winch cable was I didn't want to make that hole bigger. We already sort of get a little bit of water just dribbling through that hole if the keel's down and we're motoring or in sort of rougher seas, and well, I didn't want more water coming into the boat. I like, you know, want it to be dry underfoot, and I couldn't see how I could make that hole bigger and seal it off. Chris suggested immersion rubber, which I thought was a good idea, but I've taken it one step further. I'm going to put some nylon washers, or at least that's my plan anyway. Hopefully it'll work, and then I'll put the immersion rubber on above and below that, so hopefully that'll give me two barriers. I'm giving the wheels or the sheaths a sand up already, just to make sure that there's no rough edges there. They're going to catch the Dyneema. So the next thing I need to do is drill out this hole to allow the Dyneema to come through. I've just cleaned up around the edge of the hole there, make sure there's no burrs, and also because I'm going to epoxy on some little washers. So I've made up these, it's nylon washer sandwich, and in between is insertion rubber, which I've drilled a small hole, and then I've made a slit, crossway slit. I'm going to do that top and bottom, and hopefully that'll stop the water from coming in. That's what I'm using, just a 5-minute epoxy. That's how I put together the rubber as well, and the nylon washers. Don't want too much because I don't want it spilling out everywhere. Keep it tidy. And I'm just trying to line up that nylon washer. Just need to take a bit more out of there just to make space for that washer now. The epoxy on my little washer and rubber sandwiches has cured overnight. One top, one bottom, and it's creating a nice seal there. So I figure by doing a double seal, that should stop any, there's not a lot of water that comes through, you know, it might only be half a cup. But it's just an irritation to be having a wet floor, especially if the carpet's in here. So I need to put butyl tape around there to create my seal. Giving it a nice sand up. There was a bit of rust on there, so that's all nice and clean, ready for the new Dyneema. What I've done is I've put tape over one side of the ring spanner so that when I sit that nut in there, it doesn't fall out the other side. See my butyl spilling out the edge a little bit there, which is perfect, that's what I want. Winch is tight. Putting the screws straight through the butyl, so that'll actually seal that screw hole as well. Just use some electrical tape around the end there, and I might make sure that that is going to be far enough that it goes through that hole. Now I've already used the Dremel and a little die grind a bit just to make sure that I don't have any sharp edges on that hole, but I need to make sure that that electrical tape goes far enough through there as well, because that'll just give me that extra bit of protection. Now with these attachment points, it's important to know that they're not really there to hold the rope or the cable, whichever you're using, onto the winch. It's really just to help you get it started, and it's actually the pressure of the rope or the wire that's on the winch that holds it on there. And you need to make sure that your rope is long enough that there's enough wraps to actually hold it on the winch itself. Now it's time to just finish off. I need to put this inspection cap in there. We've got some stainless steel countersink screws, bedding in with butyl, There we go, job done. And the aim with that is that it is watertight, so that is a buoyancy chamber and we want it to stay that way. So I think that'll do the trick. I think I've done a good job. Hopefully we never have to find out. Looks like we're not done working on the boat yet. We've got our next project. That's one of the bunkers or skids that the boat's sitting on, and that is an almighty crack there. So that's bad. I think I'll just splint that so I can at least get it to the water, because I'll have to launch the boat and then replace the bunks and put the boat back on the trailer, and yeah, hopefully that's not too much of a difficult job. I think that'll hold it until I can replace the slides. Bit of a patch-up job, but sometimes that's just what you got to do. Coming up in the next video, I build new bunks for the trailer, and we finally get to float test Lady Emma. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment, give us a like, and we'll see you in the next video.